This is my party trick. Whenever I go to an event, a party, a potluck, my friends ask me to make this for them and they think it's so hard to make, but it's really so easy and you need only a few ingredients. This is my peach danishes. I also made this in pear a while ago. I'm using 1 block of cream cheese, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Oof, it is gonna be so delicious. I will also try to do this with vanilla bean paste, hoping that the vanilla bean would show and make it look aesthetic, but it really was not showing. So just gotta mix this all up. The cream cheese has to be room temperature so you can mix easily. This is what's gonna look like at the end. Super easy. To the side here I have my baking sheet with a silicone mat and a sheet of puff pastry. You can make your own puff pastry from scratch, but that will take you like 7 hours, around 7 hours. This is so much easier. You save so much time, and the trick in this is that it has to be cold, but not frozen cold. If it gets to like a room temperature ish texture, it's gonna be really sticky. So I'm slicing these with a pizza cutter. That's what I found the easiest instead of a knife, and I'm making a couple of slices. Some puff pastry come in a different shape where you would only get 4 slices out of it, and they also come in 2 sheets of puff pastry, so you will get 8. From this one I was lucky and I got 8 from just 1 sheet. And scooping the cream cheese on top, I usually add like a spoon to it and then see if any of them need a little bit extra, or maybe some of them have a little bit more. With the back of my spoon I just spread the cream cheese, but leaving a little bit of dough visible. That part is gonna crisp up in the oven. For the topping, I'm using canned peach from Trader Joe's. I love this brand. This is a Trader Joe's brand, but Costco also has like a 4-pack of canned peaches, which is already sliced. But if it's not sliced, whatever you have, maybe you got it from a can, not a jar like this. Just slice it up, and we're gonna layer the slices on top of each other. Make sure not to eat it because we need toppings. I was tempted to eat it just like that. It's so tasty. Preheat the oven to 375, and I usually set the timer to 15 minutes for the baking, and then it might be enough for you if your oven is strong. I just moved, and I think this is like the second time I used this oven, which is brand new, and turns out that 15 minutes in this was not enough, so I ended up baking it for about 22 minutes until your edges are crispy, or to make sure that it's baked, you can lift it, and if the bottom is golden brown, it is done. This is what it's gonna look like. Now we gotta add the shine. That is what makes it look so beautiful. Apricot jam, a little bit in a bowl. I'm adding about like 2 teaspoons. Microwave it for 10 seconds just so it's easier to spread, and I'm using Grand Marnier. This is optional to put it in, give it an extra little flavor. It's like an orange liqueur. You don't have to do this, but this is what I do every single time. And you cannot really taste it in there, but it does something. With a brush this over, and you get that beautiful, inviting, delicious shine to it. It also is gonna add some sweetness because the dough is not sweet, so that's why we added sugar into the cream cheese, and we are done. If you want, you can throw some powdered sugar on top. It's pretty much gonna melt where the peaches are, but it might show on the edge. We're done. It is literally so good and warm straight out of the oven, so crispy, so flaky. I love it. We ate the whole thing that morning. Don't judge me, I am a messy eater. I have no shame. It is so good. I'm literally in heaven right now. Try this out. It's so easy to make and it's so budget friendly. I love breakfast, but only when it's a fun, creative idea. Like, I hate boring breakfast like omelet. So, I've decided to whip up something interesting I've never done before. I love making danishes, so I'm focusing on that, but making a salty version. First up is bacon. Everybody loves bacon. I air fry these, and I'm always putting more bacon than I need so I can munch on them later. And the air fryer, I like to put it on lower heat for a longer time, like let's say 320 for 16 17 minutes. And I have my parchment sheet and baking sheet ready. Here's my puff pastry. We're using one single layer of puff pastry, and I'm gonna cut this just like a Danish. I like to use the pizza cutter because I think it's just so much smoother than a knife, and you can keep cutting without stopping on like with a knife, and also a knife could damage your countertop. And it cut into 6 pieces, but I'm only using 4 of them and laying it just like a sweet Danish. And here's my cheese. I'm using a Mexican blend. This is from Costco. You can use whatever cheese you have at home that melts nicely, even mozzarella or like Gruyere. But I think I love this one the most. And just putting it in the middle. Need to leave a border because that border is gonna protect our egg from oozing out. So I make sure that there's no cheese on the border because the puff pastry is gonna rise up. And for the puff pastry, I just follow whatever instruction the packaging says. I usually do the same every time. So mine is like 400 for like 12-14 minutes, and halfway cooked. Now I'm pressing down the cheesy part to make sure there's a nest for the egg, and it might ooze out a little bit, which is okay. It's gonna like fry up on the edges and become like crunchy. And cracking one single egg in the middle very slowly, and the cheese on the bottom is hot, so it should slowly start to cook that egg. And we're gonna put this back into the oven, don't worry. But before that, we're adding some black pepper and salt. That's all the spices I'm using for this. You can add more if you want. You can add some curry, some smoked paprika, cayenne pepper, and the most exciting part, the bacon. And when I said I need to make extra for munching is because I always munch while cooking. That's why I'm not very hungry by the time everything is finished cooking, because I just keep eating while cooking. It's an issue. But I crack and place my bacon around the yolk because I do want to see the yolk. And then I'm gonna put this back into the oven for the remaining time, and just keep an eye on it. I like my egg runny, my yolk runny. And look at me snacking on the remaining bacon. Yep, that is all mine. But if you like your yolk to be more solid, cook it for a few minutes longer. It smells incredible. And you know the puff pastry is ready when the bottom of it is golden brown. And here I'm just checking that even the whites cooked through, because sometimes when you have a runny yolk, the egg white can be still runny as well, which personally I don't really like. I prefer the yolk to be runny. And oh my god, this came out so good. It was so hot. But I could not resist to take a bite, and this was gone in 4 minutes. It's 2 per person. It's so hot and so delicious. The cheese, the egg, the bacon, the carbs. I feel like it is a breakfast staple. I was craving fresh baked pastry, so I looked through what I have in my fridge and pantry, and I came up with these sardine turnover. First, I'm using this little KitchenAid blender, which I love. This is the knife in it. You probably seen this in so many of my videos if you watch my other videos. 2 cans of sardines. I love this brand. I got it from Costco. It's skinless, boneless, and it has like a good flavor to it. I've tried other brands, and for me this works the best. And I also like that it has the little hand opener, and I don't have to use a can opener, which is so nice. So I'm scooping this out. I'm trying not to get the oil in it, just the fishes. And I'm also gonna leave a little bit on the bottom that I add to my dog's food. Sometimes he's picky, and I just add a few drops of the oil from this, or like the fish, and then he'll think it's human food and eat it. And then cream cheese. We're going to use half of a block of a cream cheese. I've made something similar before, and it turned out perfect. So half block cream cheese and 2 canned sardines, garlic powder, you can use fresh one, I was lazy, black pepper to taste, and then I'm adding 2 little pinch of salt. After blending it, taste it and see if it's salty enough, because you can always add, you can never take away. So we're gonna add all the salts and other spices. If you want to add some other spices, do it. Blend it until it's smooth, just a few seconds, and this is what it's gonna look like. Cookie baking sheet, and this is my puff pastry. Usually there's 2 of these in a box. I'm only using 1, and this is gonna be the perfect size for the ratio of the sardines. And you want this pastry to be cold, not frozen, not room temperatured. You want it to be cold, because when it's room temperatured, it's gonna stick so badly. So you want it to be slightly still cold. We're gonna make 2 cuts that way, and then a few more cuts like this. Measure it, whichever feels best for you, because sometimes these come in square shapes. So this is kind of like a rectangle shape, but sometimes they come in a square shape. And then, so we basically just want little perfect squares, and I folded it to see kind of where the middle is gonna be. And you want to put your filling on the middle a little bit lower, so it doesn't spread out when you fold it. So we got it all done, you see. There's only a little bit remaining, which you can eat with a cracker. Crack an egg, beat it up, and we're gonna use this as egg wash. And I'm also gonna be using the fork again, so don't need to put that away. With a brush, I'm giving a little egg wash on the corner of one side. That's gonna be the bottom side. Put it aside, and then this flip over so that it covers all the filling. If you feel like it's not enough of the dough, then you can just pull on it a little bit, stretch out the dough, then it should be fine. And then after this, press the edges down with the fork. This will lock in the pastry, and it will prevent it from opening while it's baking. That's it. So I'm just gonna show you what I do with one. Get a sharp knife, and I'm doing 3 little lines just to have a little space for the steam to come through. Egg wash, and I'm using everything but bagel for the topping, just to give it a little extra bedazzle. But you can also use sesame seeds. So this is what I want to show you. If it's room temperature, it's gonna be sticking to your fork, and it's not gonna be as nice as the other ones. You can see like the comparison of this one and the ones I started with. Oven is preheated to 370, and I'm baking it for 15 minutes. Usually 15 minutes is a perfect timing for it. And listen to this crunch. Beautiful, and it was so delicious. I ate 5 instantly. You bake it until it's golden brown, and it's gonna be perfect. So good and so filling. I love it. I'm starting a new series, What's in the Fridge, where I make things that I find in the fridge, because we all have ingredients in the fridge and what to do with it. So here are some things I have in the fridge, and I'm gonna create something that I think it's gonna work out. First off, I'm gonna need a pound of feta cheese. Now, with this, you really have to eyeball it, because some feta cheese are more creamier, some are more dry. If you have crumbled feta, that's perfect. I had this Kirkland feta block cheese from Costco, and it's like medium, like it's not dry, but it's definitely not creamy like a Bulgarian feta. Oh my god, that is like out of this world. It's so creamy. You can spread it on a butter. Clearly, if you look at this feta, it is not spreadable. So medium creaminess on what I have. So that's something you have to keep in mind when we're making this filling. By the way, this is something that I make often for salads and dips. I've never tried it in pastry, so let's see if it works out. And it did. about a cup of sour cream to start, and then I'll see the consistency, how wet and creamy it's gonna be, and if I'm gonna need more or less. And I did need a little bit more because this feta is dry. It's not low fat, it's regular, but it's still like really, really dry. So I'm adding a little bit more. I don't want this to be too creamy, but I also don't want to have it dry, because once I add the shredded cheese to it, it's gonna dry it up. But I also don't need a wet filling at the same time. Salt, add a big pinch of salt, mix it up and taste it. If your feta is really salty, no need to add the salt, but I felt like the feta I'm using is not salty enough. Which is strange because feta is very salty. Added black pepper, and I'm adding about 5-6 cloves of minced garlic that I pre-minced a while ago. I think I also put a video up of how I made that. This way I always have minced garlic and I don't have to waste time mincing it and then cleaning afterwards. So this creaminess I like. This is like a good consistency. It's almost has a consistency of cottage cheese, dill, feta and dill plus the sour cream goes so well together. I'm using like a little bunch. I chopped it up. Didn't think I need to show you how I chop it up. It's just easy. Chop, 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 and you're done. Dill is so delicious with this combination. It's insane. I could eat this with a spoon on a toast. Also really good. Of the shredded cheese, I'm adding about 1 cup. Yeah, about 1 cup. Like there's a lot of air in between, so if you were to shove it into that cup, it will be 1 cup of shredded cheese. And you can see how the consistency is changing of the filling. It looks way less creamier. I feel like all I need is cucumber now, and then I'm all set. I can just eat this by itself. But no, we're creating something so delicious that the whole thing was gone in a few hours. Puff pastry. I'm gonna need 2 layers of puff pastry, and then just flip this over, 1 for the bottom and then 1 is gonna go on top. The filling gonna go straight in, and I switched to a spatula because not a single drop of this goodness can go to waste, so I need to get every single little bit out because it's so good. Yeah, I definitely did not lick the bowl out. I probably should have, but there was like basically nothing in the bowl left. The second layer of puff pastry goes on top. I feel like this one's a little bit smaller. Adjust it a little bit. What I love about puff pastry is you can make it either sweet or savory. There's just so many creations we can do with this. I love using a pizza cutter for cutting puff pastry because 1, I think it glides very nicely. I can control it, and also it will not damage my cutting board or silicone mat, which is what I'm using. Of this, I'm gonna get 12 like smaller size pieces. I feel like it's small, but it's also gonna grow, so it's gonna look a little bigger. Usually I make Danish with this, and then I will get like 6 out of it. 1 egg, whisk it up, and I'm gonna egg brush this like that. Egg brush, yeah. And then on top of the egg brush, I'm gonna add sesame seeds. It's also gonna toast. Well, I think this is like roasted sesame seed, but puff pastry and sesame seed, so delicious. I preheated my oven to 400, and first I'm setting the timer to 20 minutes and then checking on it. If I need a little more time, I'm gonna add a few more minutes. I ended up adding 4 more minutes, so 24 minutes exactly to look like this. Perfect. Everyone's oven is different. Some ovens are stronger, some ovens are not. I think mine is not. I don't know. I have like a thermostat inside, and it's not the same as the setting I put in. But anyways, it came out like this. It was so heavenly. It is embarrassing to admit that all of this was gone in a few hours, and I was planning to save a few pieces for breakfast the following day, because you put this into the toaster oven and it's perfect even next day. But it was gone so fast, and it's about, I would say maybe it's like $4 to $6 to make the whole entire thing. So definitely on budget, delicious, and great to use up your extras in the fridge. I have a ton of puff pastry in the freezer, so let's throw something quick, something easy together. I came up with this idea and it's perfect for breakfast or for lunch. It's kind of like a tart. So this is my puff pastry, and I do have this tart form that has like a bottom that can be removed, but it's a puff pastry, so it's not gonna stick to it anyway. It's so buttery. I have these ones and there's two identical, so I'll be able to make two tarts with it. I just have to stretch out my dough a little bit because sometimes these come in different shapes, and this one is a little bit smaller than the one I usually use, but that's okay. I stretch it out a little bit and it's gonna work just fine. I'm gonna cut it in half and one is gonna go in each, and yeah, it's a little bit too long, but I can still kind of maneuver it and just get it in as well as I can. Not everyone's gonna have the same baking forms at home. You just really have to find the one that will suit you. You might even have to cut off some of these edges because it's a little bit too long. That's okay. I can just cut that off and bake it on the side. This is the second one. And I'm about preheating my oven right now to 375. I'm using a conventional oven, so that has to be lower. If you're using a regular oven, I would say put it to 390. Puff pastry needs to go into a hot oven, and I'm adding a little bit of pesto, not a homemade one, but it's okay, whatever pesto you can get your hands on, and this will help to guide the pastry where to grow, because where it's gonna be wet, it's not gonna grow that much, because we need those edges kind of to stay in shape, because I'm gonna crack an egg in it. This is my pride and joy. I love this Breville convention oven. I'll have a link down below. It can toast, it can broil, it can warm up. I love it, and it's so small, and it also uses less electricity than a regular oven. It also comes with like a pizza tray and that other one that I don't really use. I usually just I'm able to put like casserole dishes in here or use like the smaller tray for like roasted things. Done. I baked this halfway for 9 minutes, just so that the puff pastry can bake halfway before I add the eggs. And I'm helping it a little bit to press down on the middle where it kind of got some air. I felt like I needed a little bit more pesto. You can add pesto as much as you want at the beginning, as much as you like, not too much, just to have like a little bit on the bottom. We don't want it to be too wet. And for the cheese, I'm also kind of creating a border, like a little nest-ish. It's just gonna help the egg to stay in place. Prosciutto, I'm cutting this in little pieces and also kind of creating a border. It's gonna help that egg to stay in place, and I prefer to get like bite-sized prosciutto. That way when I bite into it, it will not pull the whole thing off, and also creating a little nest with it basically. So it's gonna be like my edges, borders to keep my eggs in place. So one egg is gonna go in each side. Oh, it ran a little bit, but it's okay. We can save it. We saved it. Look at that. Ooh, so good. I mean, this thing costed about, like both of them together, about $4 for the two. In a restaurant, it will be at least 14. This is going back into the oven for another 10 minutes ish until the bottom is golden brown, and the eggs are to your liking. I like it to be like a little bit runny on the yolk part. As long as the whites are cooked, I'm good, and I'm topping it with some fresh basil, and we are done, ready to eat. This took maybe 25 minutes with everything, like putting everything together. Super easy, pretty cheap, quick to make. I ate this whole thing. I sliced it in half. That's 2 slices, and it was phenomenal. So good, little cheesy. We got the pesto, we got the prosciutto, and because the prosciutto is salty, I did not salt my eggs, so just black pepper on top, and this is what it looks like in half. in the middle. So delicious. So delicious. I can't even say anything else. I was craving a beef bean burrito, but I don't have tortillas, so I'm gonna get creative. And I created this beef bean hot pocket with puff pastry, and it turned out actually better than a burrito. So I'm starting with a quarter of a big onion. If you have a small onion, half of an onion is perfectly fine. I always cut it sideways, so first slice it and then from the top down, and then from the side I can chop it, and then I'll have even small onion squares. So that is to the side, and we're done with this one. A little bit of oil into my pan, and onion goes in, and I always cook my onion low and slow. For the tomato, I'm using a tomato knife, which has like these weird looking teeth to help you cut through the skin, because often if you just use a regular knife, it will mush the tomato together, and no one likes that. But I am gonna chop it up into tiny little pieces because I'm trying to replicate a beef burrito, and there's definitely tomato in there. So I'm just chopping these tomato up almost like a salsa with a bigger knife right now. This will also give some sauciness into my filling. My onion is looking nice. I don't want to cook this onion until it's mushy, like mushy sauteed brown, because I feel like when you're eating Mexican, onion is often not cooked down, so you can still see the pieces in it. I'm using cannellini beans, very similar to pinto beans. I don't have pinto beans, so this is what I'm going to be using, and it's going to be also very soft once it cooks. A pack of beef, and this dried cilantro. I got this on Amazon. I'll put a link down below. But it's just so useful to always have cilantro at home, because for some reason mine always end up dying, and I never use the whole bunch, so this is such a good alternative. Put in my beef, adding a ton of garlic powder, smoked paprika. This is gonna give it some red coloring, and the secret ingredient, cumin. When you think of chili flavor, this is what you're thinking of. Cumin is what gives chili in Mexican food that flavor that we know, that you smell it and instantly you know it's chili or something similar. And I feel like beef burrito is very similar to chili flavoring. So cumin is the secret ingredient in this one. And then tomatoes in. This gonna cook all together very nicely. Just mix, and then about a tablespoon of the dry cilantro. This is gonna absorb the moisture and then turn soft, and still has all the cilantro flavoring in it. Beautiful. I am cooking this on about medium heat, so not too high, because I want it to release some of the water, the liquid in it, without burning. I added the beans and still cooking it on low until most of the water evaporates and the beans are soft. Look at that. And I'm adding, first I added a cup of shredded cheese. This will also help me to glue all the filling together, because otherwise the meat is just gonna fall apart. Nothing is holding it together. There's no starchiness in there, so we need the cheese. And of course, beef burrito definitely has cheese in it. I added a half cup more because I just felt like, cheese, might as well. Why not? We love cheese, so more cheese. And this looks just like a beef bean burrito filling. I feel like I replicated this perfectly, like to the T, to the point where you can't even tell that this is not store-bought. 2 puff pastries. I feel like I need a college degree to open this, because it's definitely childproof, and that's what I'm feeling right now after how much I struggled opening these puff pastries. For puff pastry, I always use a pizza cutter to cut it because I feel like it just glides so much better than a knife. And here I'm measuring where I'm gonna cut these, and I'm basically making hot pockets. So I'm gonna need a top and a bottom square of puff pastry, and a pizza cutter also prevents my my silicone mat from damage because it will not cut it like a knife. So there, we are done placing these first, and leave some space because puff pastry will grow, so it needs a little space. And these are gonna be my bottom ones. On the top one, I'm doing the same thing, just cutting them, sliding and gliding. And now for my filling, it was actually a bit too much for the amount of puff pastry I have, so I definitely had some leftovers, which you know, you can do something else with it, or you can eat it just like that, or with some potato. It was still delicious. I just ate it with a spoon. Filling in, and then we're gonna need an egg wash because that is gonna keep it all together, prevent it from leaking, and also gonna give it a shiny coat on top. Here's my egg wash, and normally I would use a brush, but because there's so little space on those edges, I'm just using my finger, and I want to make sure that all of the visible pastry is coated with a little bit of egg wash. This will help the two layers stick together, and because I cooked the meat to the point where there was no liquid in it, it will not leak. Okay, if my top part of the puff pastry is too small, I can stretch it out a little bit, and then when I put it on top, just press it down on the sides, and then with a fork, secure the edges. And this will also give it a really nice looking texture. Like, it looks like I got this out of a professional bakery. I love making these so much, and you can get so creative with the filling. Cut a little bit on the top. You can do like one slice of cut, or you can do multiple one. It does not have to be deep. It's just that so the steam can come out from within, and then egg brush the top. Normally I will put sesame seeds on it or something else, but this, I feel like this is not needed. Oven 400 degrees for 20 minutes first, and then if you need a little more, then add like 3-4 minutes. For my oven, it's always 24 minutes exactly, but I always first set it to 20 and then just keep an eye. 20 should be enough, but maybe you need a few more. And beautiful. Oh my god, these came out so delicious. Don't ask me about the calorie, it's probably very high, but you know what, it's so delicious. And everything in here, all the ingredients are good ingredients. The puff pastry I'm using is all butter, and we have organic meat in there, and then just onion and a couple of seasoning and beans. So, you know, I think it's healthier than a store-bought beef bean burrito. There's no preservative in it, and it's so delicious. It's crunchy and it's flavorful. On this episode of What's in the Fridge, I'm creating a similar pastry like I did with the feta, but this one's gonna be mushroom filling. It's a filling I had in France in some pastry, and honestly, if you make this, if you get this in a restaurant or bakery, it will cost you like $7 per slice. So all of this was definitely under $7. I have 24 ounces of mushrooms, 2 puff pastry, some parsley, and shredded cheese. First, I'm gonna blend the mushrooms. You can chop it up too if you want. I think this is just quicker. I'm using the 7-cup Cuisinart food processor, and I think maybe if you use a bigger one, that you can blend process all of the mushrooms all together. But for me, it kind of just stuck to the side because it's a medium-sized cup. I love this. I also have the bigger one, but I feel like personally when I cook for two, I often use like a smaller portion than what fits in the bigger one. So I love the 7 cup, but because it is smaller, it got squished to the side. So I have to scoop it out and put it in a plate so that more mushrooms can fit in here. It's just a little bit more work, but it's no big deal. Just getting in the plate and the rest of the mushrooms. Now, I think why it's better to have the mushrooms chopped up so finely, because when you bite into it, big mushroom chunks are not gonna fall out as if I were to slice it. Hot oil and like three cloves of minced garlic. I'm just gonna cook this a little bit in the oil. Make sure don't leave it because it will burn. And 1 whole onion sauteed. Now I pre-made my sauteed onion. This little bucket has like a whole bag of sauteed onion, about like 10 of them. I just buy them at Costco and then do it once, and then it will last me for like 2 months, really depending on how much I use it, but it will last in the fridge for a while. I love this. It saved me so much time. I could just put a big spoon in there, and there was about 1 whole onion, and there you go. Have sauteed onion on hand all the time. Put the mushrooms in, and now this is gonna release a lot of liquid, and then that's gonna evaporate. But after the liquid evaporate, that's when I am adding my salt, about 1 teaspoon of salt. The puff pastry is not salted, so all the salt is gonna come from here. And see, after like 15 minutes, the water has evaporated. Now I'm adding some parsley once the mushrooms are done. I see some crispiness on the mushrooms, so I'm adding some parsley. I could have chopped this up on the chopping board, but I literally just cleaned it and I got lazy. So I'm just ripping it apart in small pieces by hand. It's not gonna make too much difference, honestly. You can totally skip it. It's just something I had in the fridge. I wanted to put it in here. At least some vitamins, and 1 cup of shredded cheese. This just gonna help for everything to stick together and not fall apart. Don't need to add much cheese. It's literally just a helper, and I also have it in the fridge, so why not use it? Otherwise it's a really big bag of cheese. I feel like I always buy the big bag ones because you never know when you need it, and this is like the perfect opportunity to use it up because look how well it's sticking together. And now on to my puff pastry. I have 2 puff pastries. I always buy them at Trader Joe's during the winter, the red box one that uses all butter, and I stuck it up in my freezer. Onto the first layer of puff pastry, I'm putting down the mushroom paste. Basically it's like a mushroom paste, and then just spread it out evenly. I think in the feta one I mentioned that it was almost embarrassing how fast we ate the feta one, but this was gone even faster. I mean, this came out so good that I could eat it every single day. And mushrooms are low calorie, so I think it kind of balances out because the puff pastry is high calorie. So, and I'm also adding a little bit more cheese on top, just to like add an extra layer of structure to hold it together. Totally not necessary, but I just did because why not? I do like cheese. And then the second layer of puff pastry on top. Now I'm preheating the oven to 400. And I want it to be like smaller, hand holdable size, so I'm cutting 2 longer slices on the sideways. And the pizza cutter, I love using the pizza cutter on puff pastry. It will not damage the silicone mat underneath. And then give it an egg brush, and we're gonna bake this for 20 minutes and then see if you need an extra 3-4 minutes. I always need an extra 4 minutes, so for my oven 24 minutes exactly, but start with 20 minutes. So for the topping, I thought of adding everything but the bagel seasoning. This is from Trader Joe's because it has onion in it, so the onion and mushroom go well together, so why not add this one? And I heard a funny story that when Korean tourists come to America, this seasoning is one very popular souvenir to take home to Korea. However, it has poppy seeds, and poppy seeds are illegal in Korea, so it gets confiscated and sometimes fined too. But it's like so delicious that everyone wants it. But yeah. If you go to Korea, don't bring this spice with you because you never know. But yeah, that was it for the topping, and now into the oven. 24 minutes exactly later, we have beautiful, delicious mushroom puff pastry bites. It's bigger than a bite, but pocket. I guess I could call it pocket, like a little pie pocket. Honestly, this is one of the best things I have created with puff pastry so far. You never know what the future holds. Maybe I'll find something else that's amazing, but it's gonna be very hard to top this one. It's perfect, literally perfect, so easy to make, so cheap. And if you have vegetarian friends, you can definitely make this for them. You could skip the cheese and see what happens, but I think it was a good choice to add some cheese to hold everything together.